We have scales where trucks drive over, with 88,000 pounds of weight on it, and a physical gauge is reading that, and they don't break. If they can build it as big as they want to measure a truck going over a scale, then why can't the Sandusky chamber have a big enough scale to read the vacuum?
Because it can't produce the vacuum levels they claim.
Well, they can build the scale for it because it's only going to -6. But if they're going to take it farther than that, they're going to have a different kind of scale. And that's what they've been using. A mass spectrometer is what they're using, which is now measuring the percentage of the air left in the chamber.
Yeah.
That's where everybody goes back to the percentage.
And that's exactly what Bill Demos had to use in his chamber.
Yeah, and Bill Demos is working on commercial products. He has to get results. If he's testing a piece of equipment, he has to state that what he is saying is correct and he can prove it. This is the point. He's using commercial products tested in a vacuum chamber to ensure that they work under the conditions the developers of those products want them to work at.
Oh, yeah, it's quite technical when it comes to what he's doing because he's laying down one atom layers of material, and they need the vacuum to make sure that that's a absolutely pure layer. No other obstructions or any other product is in there. It's that one particular thing. And they're laying down these very thin layers, and then they're using different methods to make them stronger, to make that stronger bond. And I think a lot of that's coming from nature. The strongest single chain bonds are done by spiders, are they not, in their webs? Some of the strongest materials out there have to be absolutely uniform, and each of the atoms have to interconnect properly on that. And I don't know if they use magnetic forces or whatever, or electricity to help line them up and shake them into place. When they're creating these very particular materials, they're looking at different methods that they're going to use these materials for, which are in electronics. Even audiophile equipment in electronics for music and stuff like that, their boards are built in somewhat of a vacuum to keep them clean enough to start with and to get rid of any oxidation that might be in their solder joints and all of the other stuff that could interfere with or cause harmonic distortion. This is a French site, and basically this individual claims that there's an experiment that puts an end to all of our Apollo hoax theories. So the entire premise of his video is the fact that the footprints on the moon will be there for like millions of years. Nothing will disturb them. And that is the proof. And of course, then he shows the LRO photographs. Well, what he doesn't understand is the fact that NASA makes that statement, but at the same time, they provide documents showing the photoelectric charge levitating everything up 2 kilometers in the air, which happens every month. And then when you look at the solar wind experiments on there, the stuff's going to be drifting around a little bit as well. So it's going to completely cover over 12 times a year times the last 55 years. If there was anything there, there won't be anything there to look at. Of course, there is nothing there. That's why the sites are so fully protected. Of course, the difference in color of the soil between what they show as a footprint or tracks being darker than the rest of the stuff, I mean, that's impossible right off the go. Even if they claim that the soil is being bleached by the sun and the soil underneath is disturbed, well, it's going to get bleached pretty quick again.
You see, he's got a guy walking on the beach showing footprints on the beach. But what he fails to realize is that those footprints are going to be washed away by the ocean that's coming in right behind him.
It's the same thing that Jared did many years ago. He was walking along the beach, seeing what footprints were left. And in dry sand, you don't get any footprints, you just get depressions. In wet sand, you do get impressions.
There was one subscriber pretty much at the beginning of the video I put out yesterday. But anyways, he said, take a look at how close that horizon is. It's like this. The parabola. It's too sharp for the focal point. They had a 60 millimeter lens on that camera. And when you look at how the sun goes out, the sun goes from the limb all the way out to the very edge of the hill. But where's the rest of the light? All the rest is dark. I thought the moon's supposed to have light everywhere. It's supposed to be uniform, not just go out to the far horizon and then stop. As a matter of fact, in this guy's video, 145, he's showing the exact same part where Armstrong comes down the ladder and then Aldrin joins him. And you look at where the lighting is on this, and I'm telling you that those guys are very close to the edge of that set. And the way the lighting is impossible. If that was really taken on the moon, that light would be uniform. But it's dark on the right side, then it gets brighter, 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 all the way from the astronaut, all the way to the very horizon, and then it starts dropping off again on the left side. That's not possible if that's on the moon.
No, that was done at the US Air Force Base. What's it called?
That could have been done at Cannon, yeah.
Because that was certainly set up as a studio, and there were people watching it, see if it worked. And that was what, June 1968 they did that. And obviously it wasn't Armstrong or Aldrin in Cannon Air Force Base because they were watching it. So they must have had the same actors doing it there. And of course, because you can't see through the visors when they're being filmed on the surface, you don't know who it is. It's interesting. There's so many holes in the story, and they're becoming more and more prominent. More and more people are becoming aware of them.
I just hope Kim Kardashian at least takes a look at one of the videos on radiation.
That's all you have to do. Then ask the questions. They're not difficult questions to ask. Oh, talking of questions, do you know if Dave McKeegan has opened those files that you sent him?
No, I checked.
He hasn't opened them yet.
Nope.
It's interesting, he also hasn't posted any more videos about Apollo since our discussion. He's concentrated on that stupid subject, flat Earth.
I think when you look at the reality of it, the progression we have of technology going along. So if you start with a lie and claim that you have done something that you can't possibly have done, you have to continue that lie on. And of course, technology is progressing. So we must be doing something. We must be doing more. We must be better at it. We must be everything else. That's why they go, well, let's head to Mars. Let's do this. Let's do that. And that's the natural progression if you actually accomplish the thing in the first place, the thing that you claim you have done. And of course, when you look at the history and they're claiming we landed on the moon and what, by 76, they got a rover on Mars, right? They landed on Venus, landed everywhere else. All of that is just a lie. Technology wasn't there to go to the moon in the first place. They were just following the natural progression, the same as the development of an aircraft.
Okay, let's say they developed the natural progression. Let's say they did that with the space technology, with the space industry. If the technology from the 1900s or 20th century worked so great, you're going to keep using that all the way up to the point where you develop something new. And when that new technology has been developed and tested and is viable and you can now use it, that's when you start putting the old technology in the museums. But that's not what we saw.
It's the progression from propeller-driven aircraft to jet aircraft. It was a natural progression. It was developed in the, 1940s. Germany took it up. Britain took it up. The jet engine was developed originally by Frank Whittle, who was an English engineer. It demonstrated that it was very effective. It was a very powerful engine. It was developed to be a very powerful engine. And jet engines were used in passenger aircraft in the 1950s. First one was the Comet, but unfortunately they got a few things wrong and they didn't get the pressure sorted. But then jet engines were used continuously from then on. It's very unusual now to fly in an aircraft with a propeller-driven engine. They're usually used for short flights. I've flown on a few over in the Channel Islands, between Jersey and Guernsey and the Channel Islands. They use propeller-driven aircraft because it's only a short distance. But jet engines are used for huge passenger aircraft. We now have the A380 doing the trip from Australia to the UK in one hit. It's remarkable.
Yeah, exactly. I think what you had back with the development of the aircraft, of course, as soon as you got into the jet engines, they were looking at a certain height that they were trying to fly at.
Yes, but they didn't take the propeller-driven aircraft and put them in museums right after the
Oh,
jet engine
exactly.
age came into existence because we still use propeller-driven aircraft today. Every private pilot learns on a propeller-driven aircraft.
But my point being is that the fact that there was a race on to fly higher and faster, and of course, breaking the sound barrier was that big deal, right? Well, as it has turned out, it is not practical to fly faster than the speed of sound. Not that it can't be done, it's just very inefficient. Like the Concorde proved that it could be done, but the cost of doing that, and if you look at the modern aircraft today, instead of flying at very close to the speed of sound that they had in the 70s and 80s, they're flying back to what, just over 500 knots or whatever. Now they actually slowed them down for fuel efficiency. My point is there's a limit to everything that is practical. When you hit the Apollo program, we're still trying to find out how to get to low Earth orbit at this particular point in time. They never achieved what they claimed they achieved. And you see the documentation. Oh, if you want to go to the moon, well, we might have to go 15 or 18 launches to get enough equipment up there and fuel to be able to do it. And then they turn around and go, oh, well, let's just fly around the moon with a single launch.
Well, we'll see how that comes.
And why do you need 15 launches for if you can do this with one? And that's where my BS meter goes right off the chart every time.
Well, how
Yeah.
come these guys like Thunderfoot, Phil Mason, and the other fellows with PhDs, you take Destin from Smarter Every Day, why can't these people see it? Because they're deconstructing how Apollo functioned, and then they're looking at this new technology of this SLS system. Then they're looking at Elon Musk's system, and that's the one that's going to require these 13 to 30 refuels to get that thing to the moon. They don't seem to realize that they're staring at the answer, it's staring them right in the face. Apollo. How could that Saturn V reach low Earth orbit the way that NASA's claiming they did when this technology that they're using now requires all of those refuels? Not only that, but it also requires a lunar gateway station. And it also requires that the astronauts now wear astrorad radiation vests as soon as they leave the Earth, all the way to the moon, under their suits, and all the way back. Well, they didn't need that back in 1969 to 72. They had none of it.
Yeah.
So why do you need it now?
Yeah, they didn't even have a space toilet. I mean, diapers will do, right? Oh my God.
And that's another good point. Diapers. Why would you need maximum absorbent garments in a spacecraft that has a toilet?
In case you can't get to it in time.
No, the toilet's just to clean yourself up after you use the diaper.
You use wet wipes, don't you? Yeah.
But that makes no sense.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but you can't throw them out. They're going to be in the craft with you your entire trip, and it's going to get a little smelly.
There was another woman that also did a tour of the ISS. She was saying that they go in the diapers, they do the number two in the diapers there, and then they place it inside of that toilet container and then close the lid.
Yeah, that's exactly why you need the diapers.
And then what happens to them? Because obviously you can't just throw them out the window.
Perhaps it's like a coffee grinder that just grinds it all up.
Well, the ISS, they can eject. They have an airlock system. They can dump their garbage if they want to.
There's an interesting program I watched the other night, which was to do with the landing on the moon. And SpaceX are apparently going to be doing the landing without the legs, which is a very dangerous thing to do. So if they're going to land without legs, and this thing is 50 foot high, first question, why isn't it going to tip over? Because if it doesn't land perfectly straight, it lands in a little crater, and whoa, over it goes. So they decided to solve that problem. Instead of landing vertically like that, which is what they intend to do, they're going to land horizontally. They're going to come down vertically. Then they got little thrusters here, which will tip it over, and they'll land horizontally. Next question, how do you get it back up again to launch? No answer to that yet, but they're going to try it. I'm sure Musk will have some idea. He'll probably send one of his cyber trucks up there to haul it up as a breakdown truck. Get the thing, it's 50 foot high, this thing.
I believe that was the second idea they had. The first one was even crazier. That all those thrusters that are on the side of it lower down are special thrusters that fire and literally blow away all of the top layer and then cook the layer below it into a solid landing pad. And then they're going to attempt to land on it with no legs.
And lots of dust all over the place. So they won't be able
Wow.
to see where they're landing. Do
Can you
these
imagine if
guys know
they
what they're talking about?
can you imagine they come down there on those thrusters and the ground's uneven and it just rolls over so they can't open the door? They're toast.
Well, you're going to be breaking out the cutting torches to get out.
The lunar surface is nothing if not bumpy. There aren't any flat areas on the lunar surface, not that we've seen. All the pictures show little craters, lots of dust, lots of rocks. If this 50-foot high lander hits a rock, just a foot or so high, which you won't be able to see as you're landing because there's dust everywhere, you come down, the thing flips over. End of story. You have to send another 28 of them up to rescue it.
I
They
think
won't.
it would go kaboom when it falls over anyway, just like they do on Earth. They have a massive disassembly of equipment.
Well, what they'll do is they'll just do what they do with all these other television programs. They'll just cut it, they'll fade it away, and then that way you won't see it explode.
But then
Yeah.
if the astronauts don't come home, they might ask a few questions. What happened to the astronauts, guys?
Well, the only way you're going to see that kind of design working is it going to be a CGI or a
Yeah.
complete AI program running that.
Perhaps that's what they're doing. They're just waiting till Google's VO3 AI system gets a little better so that you can't detect the BS. Maybe that's why they kept kicking the can down the road until this program is tweaked a little better.
Yeah, because they can build anything. Once they have that, they can claim they're doing launches and building a massive ship to go to Mars with. Have all the interiors in there like it's a giant hotel with spas and everything else. It was done in the movie industry years ago. And that's what we expect to see because the movie industry creates that image for us. And that's what we expect space travel to be like. That's not reality. That's the expectations that we have with progressive technology, right? We expect us to develop to that level so that you're sitting there on a craft like the Enterprise and you hit a button and it generates the food for you, right? Out of thin air.
One fellow was doing a breakdown on this Mars mission. He was going over all the radiation numbers. It just popped up in my feed and I just piecemealed through it. And he said the same thing, Elon Musk, you really have a lot of work to do before you send humans anywhere close to Mars.
Yeah, yeah. Oh dear.
And there's
Yeah,
more of these physicists that are running these channels that are coming out saying the same thing, Phil Mason included.
that is the reality of it, right?
And this guy in the comments section, I had to laugh. He says, you say probes got to the moon and this, that, and the other. And he says, what's the difference? I said, the difference is there is no human cargo on board.
Well, yeah, it takes a lot of equipment to put a human on board. All of the stuff for life support to keep a human on board. It's quite different. You need to have a proper amount of pressure. You need to have a proper amount of atmosphere. You need all kinds of things. You need to be able to control the temperature. You need to be able to block the radiation.
We were talking about the Van Allen belts, and the very first thing that this physicist said in that video was there are no Van Allen belts on Mars. In fact, there is no protection from radiation whatsoever. So
Yeah.
you're going to have to bring that yourself. It's not going to work building a base on Mars because that radiation from the sun and the cosmic radiation will kill you before you even have a chance to build the base in the first place. So you're going underground or you're going to be building it into the side of a hill.
Which is underground.
Yeah, which is underground.
What is it? You need 30 feet on the moon or something like to get away from the cosmic radiation?
Well, at least Space 1999 had it right when they built all those catacombs underneath the moon where they kept all of their food supplies because it's not going to be bombarded by radiation. It's 40 feet under there.
So, if radiation isn't a problem today, if it wasn't a problem before, It's not a problem today. Why is it even a consideration? Why are they even talking about it anymore? If they proved it, if it's dusted and done, all of those things, right? Well, then we don't need all of this equipment. Same as with the vacuum. I mean, everything comes down. One little seal goes on the thing and you're dead because you can't contain the atmosphere that you need to survive at.
Look at the cosmonauts. That's what happened to them. That little seal went and they all died instantly.
Yeah, you're just dead. There's no mystery about that. You're just dead.
So why waste all of the money trying to send people to Mars? Why waste all of the money trying to send people to the moon? Makes no sense. Because if you're going to be doing all of these experiments like they're doing now, sending out radiation detectors and private industry sending a probe to the moon to read the radiation on the lunar surface, which was supposed to have been done and dusted in 1969 to 72. If you have all the readings that you require, you do not need to be sending private probes back there, and you do not need to be sending Artemis vehicles with dummies on board with these detectors strapped to them around the moon and back. It was supposed to be done and dusted. Why are they continually doing this? Because they have not sent humans anywhere past low Earth orbit. That's why.
Oh, that's exactly it. And even at that, there's still a problem today. You can't put a human on board anything Musk is doing. They're just going to blow up.
It will either tear itself apart or it will explode on landing. See this over the moon in the comments section? Robert, how many times have I told you it did not miss the landing pad?
Yeah,
Well, you're not going to have a rocket go up into the atmosphere and then come back down again just to land in the ocean. What's the point of it? And then, if you can find a video of it actually exploding before they cut the darn feed or fade it away, good luck with that too. But if you can find it, you don't see a landing pad underneath that rocket. What's the purpose of this? Does he actually want this rocket to explode? And then when it does explode, the people are all clapping and cheering. It's ridiculous. Why would you cheer and clap for something like that? This is the second time it landed in the ocean. I can see one time, but twice? That rocket had to have missed the landing pad. Why would you land it in the ocean? It makes no sense.
Well, they had a floating pad out there that it was supposed to land on. They weren't even close to it. That's the problem. It just
No.
came down. It didn't have control. And there again, here we're looking at the best technology we have today for autonomous control of a vehicle with self-driving cars and everything else.
Yeah.
We should have the ability. The computers are fast enough to make the calculations and make the adjustments and control the machine. And it's not happening. Things are messing up. I can't imagine that you just launch another one and not try and fix the problem before you go. But that's what it looks like. It looks like they don't fix anything. They just launch another one because they need to launch on some kind of a budget that they're doing. You're supposed to have this many launches a year to get your funding.
But they should know better that landing a rocket engine first on the ocean surface is going to cause an explosion. So they're not purposely doing this like this guy saying.
Yeah, he's the guy that always wants to tell you something.
God almighty.
Yeah, yeah. I just wanted to tell you this. Haven't you listened to me? I've been telling you this and that and everything else. That's what this guy does. He's quite the troll.
Jarrah White has a bachelor's in geology and astrophysics, major in one, minor in the other. That doesn't automatically make you a professional geologist or an astrophysicist.
You could say the same of virtually anybody else. It's a stupid comment.
But then he goes on to say about me, he says, I told you before, Robert, Starship did not miss the landing pad. All right, if it didn't miss the landing pad, then why is it continually landing in the ocean with the engines facing down? That is going to cause an explosion. Think about it.
And it did every time.
Yeah, twice. Blew itself to bits.
What's the point he's trying to make?
Oh, because in the video I said that it keeps missing the landing pad. Well, the reason why I said that is because normal physicists and normal scientists do not launch a rocket and then land it engine first in the ocean without a landing pad there. So why does Elon Musk have those landing pads in the ocean that are floating about if the rocket is not going to land on it? Answer me that one, over the moon.
And then, of course, he's looking at videos where it cuts away and doesn't show it blowing up. I truly think it's Bezos' turn to jump on and to prove that we do space travel. Bezos should put Kim's ass in the air because he has a fetish for people's backsides.
Well, you could suggest it.
Yeah, he put all those girls up in the air, included his wife. So why not put Kim's up there? And
Oh, she'd jump at the chance.
well, the media event alone. Yeah, well, there's not much happening in space news today, so
No, because they keep using technology from 40 years ago.
Yeah, but if they would use it, they would actually get there, and then they could keep using that until the SLS system and the Artemis craft are ready to go.
the
Yep.
SLS system is already 45 years old.
But it's not the problem of lifting it, it's the problem of getting that rocket into low Earth orbit and then getting the remainder of the craft into lunar orbit, and then another craft to go down to the surface. Why they need this gateway station is beyond me.
Oh, they haven't built it, haven't tested it, certainly. It's not going to happen, guys. Forget it.
You imagine just to keep the consumables up on it, having it orbiting the moon, the monthly trips you would have to be making. If you had people on board, you had something blow up on the launch pad, those people are dead up there because you can't carry enough consumables that far.
They would go from being human occupants to cannibals pretty quick. But one guy in the comment section, though, he did have a good point about why NASA has put those supposed Apollo landing sites off limits to such a degree that you can't photograph them, you can't walk up to them, you can't fly over them, you can't look at them, and they're claiming it's a heritage site. That's what they keep claiming. And it's just another ruse to make sure that no future missions go anywhere near it because it's not there. Not there. Not there.